What's up, Browns fans? Spencer German coming to you live from Pittsburgh at Acrisure Stadium, where the Steelers are getting ready to host the Cleveland Browns. Anthony Moeglin back on the home front in Cleveland. Megs, I made it this year in good time. I don't know how many religious followers we have on the channel here in the pod, but last year my car didn't start. I got here very late. We were scrambling to do this video. This year I got here in plenty of time, so that's a good start to the day, I would say.
Is it a good omen for the Browns? I think it might be.
Maybe. Will I change my prediction from what I wrote? We'll see, and we'll get to that coming up in this episode. But maybe it is a good omen. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Obviously, we know, Megs, the history of this team playing here. They haven't won a regular season game in this stadium since 2003. Excuse me. We obviously know about the 2020 playoff game. I guess it was technically January of 2021. Where they won in here against Ben Roethlisberger and all that. And that was obviously a very euphoric moment for the franchise and sort of felt like an exercising of those demons. But they've gone right back to the same sort of trends during the regular season since then. And this place has not been very kind to the Browns. Now, none of that matters to the players currently playing on the roster in 2025. It doesn't really impact, what they're, how they come out and play today in the grand scheme of things. But I think it does sort of frame the context of, especially with a team that's 1-4 right now, coming into the stadium against a Steelers team that has Super Bowl aspirations. Let's just be honest about it. And that obviously is coming off of a bye week as well. Like, they seem locked and loaded to cruise today. And there's everything working against the Browns, where you had a week where you traded a couple players, some comments from certain players about not really understanding what the quarterback. Jerry Jeudy, I'll just say it. He flat out said, he wasn't really sure what the four-way competition was really about, if this is how it all kind of transpired just a few weeks into the season. You had others who said the Browns still are committed to winning, and you're also coming back from a trip from London and trying to kind of get back into the swing of things. There's a lot working against the Browns today, and so I do think it's a pretty important game in the grand scheme of things. And I don't know if I talked about this specifically with you, but there's been a lot of coaches fired after games against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think that's going to happen if the Browns lose to the Steelers today, even if it gets really ugly for Kevin Stefanski. But I do wonder, if a loss today against the Steelers, and if it does get ugly, given everything that's sort of surrounding this team right now, could spiral even further and almost set the tone for a beginning of the end type scenario for someone in this regime when we get to season's end.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It could definitely be the kind of the start if it does get ugly. I think you've said it a bunch of times, though, a mark of this staff still keeping it around is if the players are still playing for them, right? And this was a weird week, because up until this morning you forgot that the Browns were playing the Steelers. It was about everything else. Other than the game, it was about the Flacco trade on Monday, then the Newsome trade, and then Shador being maybe the backup, maybe not, and then everything else was first, and the headline was not the football game, and that's not a good sign, in my opinion, because
it's fair.
You got to keep the main thing, and the main thing is football, and it was not even. It wasn't even fifth on the most important things happening with this week list. So it's something to watch, right? If they come out and they look sluggish and they look like they don't care, that's when you start kind of sounding those alarms of it may be worse than where we expect.
Yeah, it's a really good point when it comes to where the focus was this week. And I know you sort of wrote about that in our prediction piece over on Roundtable. The idea that the game itself was pretty far down the list of things that people were talking about. Normally when you get the matchup with the Steelers, it's all about this rivalry, time for the Browns to win. This is the year they pull it off, and this year was about everything else. I wonder how that sort of plays in the psyche of the team, and that is where, again, sometimes things can spiral. If you lose focus of the locker room and guys aren't bought in, that's kind of where these things can start. I will say, on a positive note, Megs, as far as the 53-man roster is concerned, this team is coming to Pittsburgh relatively healthy. The only player who's out at this point is Mike Hall Jr., who hasn't played at all this season anyway. He continues to come back from that knee injury. So he was inactive once again. Everybody else, no other designations on the roster, so everyone's kind of cleared and ready to go here. And I do think that's a good sign. We'll also see what happens with the left tackle spot. My sort of feeling on this, based on just kind of reading tea leaves, is that Cam Robinson will start at left tackle. That's been the one spot on this team that injuries have kind of hurt the most, is the offensive line. Go figure. It's been sort of the theme the last couple of years as well. But I do think that does set things up pretty nicely for the Browns to come in with a healthy team and just kind of be able to go out and play some football. And hopefully it means that they can kind of put their best product out there on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I think that part of the Browns this year is kind of going under the radar. Like they've in years past, that injury list has felt like it's a laundry list. It's looked so long.
Well, knock on wood. We obviously we don't want this to be the day that it all goes south. But yeah,
but like it's like okay, the 1 year that's like okay, that part's going good. The rest of it is not going good. But I will say this, kind of back to the point that I was making. Everyone's still gonna try to go out there and at least give it a shot. At least what we think. So it's good to see that injury list is clean, and obviously all the eyes are going to be on that offensive line. How does that left tackle situation look? Because we've seen it 100 times in Pittsburgh. T.J. Watt or Alex Highsmith coming around the edge and strip sack, forced fumble, and it flips a game. If the Browns want to stick in this game, they have to play clean today, and it starts with the dudes up front.
Well, for what it's worth, I feel like every time this team plays here, TJ Watt makes some remarkable play, either scores a touchdown himself or like leads to a direct touchdown for the offense or whatever it may be. So I'm almost kind of just predicting that that's going to happen because he almost always does it when this team's here in this building. We'll see. Another thing I think fans should be keeping a close eye on, and I think is going to play an important role in how this game goes, is how much more Kevin Stefanski is willing to put on Dillon Gabriel's plate. I think we all agree last week, pretty conservative game plan, tried to sort of protect him from making any big mistakes or forcing any turnovers. It was a weird week for Dillon as well. You're going to London. The Thursday practice was more of like a walkthrough. They didn't really do a practice that day. So you come back now, have a normal week, and you can kind of give him a little bit more, I would imagine. I guess from your perspective, Megs, like what are you expecting to see or hoping to see in terms of how they call this game for Dillon Gabriel in his second career start?
Yeah, I hope they're they kind of keep it more on the conservative side because of what you talked about. Every time we play in Pittsburgh, it does feel like stuff gets weird at some point, and big plays happen for the Steelers. So you're hoping that they keep it pretty conservative for him. They keep it on the ground because I do think that the Steelers can get got on the ground. And Quinshon's obviously been one of the brighter spots on this team and in the rookie class in general. So that's kind of a hope for me. And for Dillon, it's now we're taking our next step up. I think last week it was solid, but the biggest question mark was, hey, every throw over 10 yards. Was kind of hit or miss. And even in the preseason, he was super accurate on those. And that's kind of been his calling card. So you're hoping that, hey, today when he gets his opportunity to push the ball down the field, do so in an accurate way. And put balls on the money like he knows how to do. And really take that next step up from him. So I'm excited to see what he has today. Because truthfully, you kind of talked about it. 2 really odd weeks to come out to start your career, right? You start in London, then you have the travel home, and yes, it's a more normal week, but you still are coming off an 8-hour flight. However, you're playing the Steelers, who's your biggest rival, who I don't know how the schedulers made this, but who are coming off a bye week when the Browns had the London trip, which is so crazy. But I
talked about that. The Browns are the only team playing a team after their trip internationally that's coming off of a bye. And is going on the road. Well, the Chargers went on the road after their international game, but remember, their international game was on a Friday. It was also basically like a normal road trip for them. Like they basically just went like 2 hours east, like because their game was in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Like they had to go south, but like they were still in a relatively manageable time zone. Unlike the Browns who went all the way to London. So sort of a weird setup to the schedule. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Kevin was kind of asked about it. He said he just kind of brushed it off. Was like, it doesn't matter. I know sometimes they let teams decide if they want to have a bye after the international game. I think the Browns might have. I don't know if they for sure said they didn't want one. I don't know if you can like flat out pick. I think it still is kind of like you're at the mercy of the schedule makers. Yeah. But to get a road game against a team coming off a bye is just bizarre to me. And I do think that's part of why this first 6 games was a gauntlet that we sort of laid out. But I think you were right, Megs, in like what I think. I think you still need to be pretty conservative overall with Gabriel today. The Steelers team is second in turnover differential. They're forcing a lot of them. We know that about them. I do think there is room to find some success running the football today. But I do think pushing the ball downfield a little bit more is what I hope to see from Gabriel in his second start, because you didn't see a lot of that last week. And I think as he does more and more, you're going to have to be able to threaten teams vertically if you want to have a chance to win some games.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And part of that's him, and part of that is, hey, you need the receivers to step up at some point.
Yeah.
They've been just we knew going in to the year that it's not the best group in the NFL, but I mean, come on, like nobody's open. Just no one's getting open. That's the biggest thing that stands out. So you're hoping today, Jerry, get open, catch the football, catch the football when you get a chance. Try to get Isaiah Bond involved, try to get the rest of the crew kind of going a little bit, because the way this offense goes, it's like the only way they move yards is either on the back of their running back or on their tight ends. And you're like, okay, that works for a little bit, but you do need that element of outside the numbers. And today would be a really good day for those receivers to get going.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Along the lines of the quarterback situation, we know Kevin Stefanski announced that Shedeur Sanders would be the primary backup. Browns are only rolling with 2 quarterbacks today. They did not elevate Bailey Zappi off the practice squad. For what it's worth, for those who maybe want more of an idea of how the rules work, you cannot elevate a guy off the practice squad and then make him the emergency third quarterback. So if they had done that with Zappi, he would have had to just be straight up on the roster, and then he could have been active as a third quarterback, but he couldn't be the emergency quarterback. The emergency third quarterback has to be a member of the active roster. So that is a key sort of part of this. But they didn't even elevate him to make it a possibility that he's a third quarterback. So they're just rolling with the 2 guys today, the 2 rookies. We'll see. I mean, obviously nobody wants to see anybody get injured, but there is a scenario where, I think this is why Kevin took the time he did this week to wait to make a decision, because he wanted to make sure, hey, do we think Shedeur is ready to be a play away from taking the field if need be? And clearly they must have gotten through the week in a positive way where they felt like he's ready for it. And so this rookie movement, this youth movement at the quarterback position in particular, of trying to find out what you have in these 2 guys, begins pretty much immediately here in week 6, understanding that those 2 guys are 1 and 2 on the depth chart.
Yeah, and Shedeur's 1 play away. For everyone who's been barking and angry about how they're trying to manage this, there's 1 play away now. Whatever happens today, obviously you hope injuries stay out of it. But interesting for the Browns, and it's 2 rookies back there. So I know they got a lot of confidence in both of them, and hopefully today would be a really cool day for whoever it is, whether it's Dillon, whether it's Shedeur, to get a win in Pittsburgh and to take that bus ride home. It's been a long time since they got to ride that bus ride home with smiles on their faces. So that'd be pretty cool.
Well, that's a nice segue into what we always say for last on this pregame conversation. Our predictions for the game today, Megs. Will the Browns be taking a nice, happy, joyful bus ride home from Pittsburgh tonight, or will it be more of the same that we've seen in this building during the regular season from the last, 22 years, 21 years?
Crazy. What were you doing in 2002, the last time they won?
2003?
2003.
The last time they won, 2002. I would have been 11. So I don't know, not worrying about the Cleveland Browns. Well, actually I was into football then, so I probably was watching football.
I for sure would have watched that game. I would have been 5, and I definitely probably would have had that game on.
Oh man, yeah, that's a long time ago, man, for sure. It is funny to think about how the world has changed so much since then, though. Not just us growing up as people, but how things in just the world are different now. It's been literally over 2 decades, more than 2/3 of my life. This Browns team hasn't been able to win here in the regular season. It's wild.
It's out of control. Yeah, I was curious about this because I was looking at some different guys. Quinshon Judkins wasn't even born when the last time they won. Dollon Gabriel was born in 2000, so he was alive, or he was up and running then. But Quinshon wasn't even born. Anyway, I digress. I think today's the day. I think today's a good day for Brown. I think today's a good day for Browns fans. I got my prediction is Browns 24, Steelers 13. The reasons behind this, I do think, let's starting on the Browns side of things. I think from the offensive perspective, they keep it very conservative for Dillon. I think he showed that he can move the football, and it's gotten lost in the aftermath of last week, but the Vikings have like an awesome defense. Okay. And they still had 3 scoring drives on them. And we're putting up some points. So I was really pumped for Dillon from that perspective. And I think he'll show that he's a little bit better this week and get a little bit better now that he's got his sea legs kind of under him. I think they keep it fairly conservative. I think this is a big Quinshon game. I think Quinshon again shows that he is he's one of those top guys in that rookie class. And then on the Steelers side of things, I think that they're going to struggle a little bit with the Browns defense. You go back 2 weeks to their game against Minnesota, and it was kind of back and forth, but they did have 2 big plays, and one was to DK Metcalf. And I think if the Browns can limit the big play, which they've shown the ability to do this year, that I think they can keep the Steelers offense down a little bit. So I'm excited to watch that matchup. I got Browns 24, Steelers 13. Dollon Gabriel takes down the mighty Steelers defense. Aaron Rodgers struggles today, and the Browns head back to Cleveland with the win.
Where I think you're right is that the Steelers haven't seen a defense like this. I just think there's too many other things in play today. As you kind of alluded to earlier, you have a new corner who's going to be starting, right? Like, how quickly – I know it's a corner, it's not a quarterback, but how quickly can he really get in rhythm and grasp everything and, like, be up to speed? Like, I think the Steelers are going to try to target him today. We'll see. And also, like, the Steelers are coming off a bye where I think they've won their last, 8 straight games off of a bye week or something like that under Mike Tomlin. There's that. There's the coming back from London part of this. There's all the things that happened in the Browns building this week. And I know that certain veterans said they felt like winning is still the priority, but it also feels like others in that room, there was a weird vibe about the locker room this week, on at least on Wednesday. Maybe it got better as the week went on. Maybe it was just jet lag from the trip from London. I don't know. But I just think there's so much working against the Browns today, unfortunately. I'd love to pick them to pull it off this year, but the circumstances around this game, the fact that, like I said, TJ Watt almost always seems to make a play against this team in this building when they come here. There's just so many things that I think about, and it's, maybe I'm wrong for not just focusing on the X's and O's of this, and the Browns will find a way, but I just think it's going to be too much for them, and I'm taking the Steelers 27-17, another week without scoring 20 points. But I think that could change next week because the Miami Dolphins are not a very good football team, so we'll see.
Well, that would be what you said. I agree with a lot of it. It will be. It will definitely.
I respect the fact you're trying to insert some good juju in there. I get it. It's cool.
Hey, you're telling the truth. Maybe I'm a little bit off, but it's interesting. I will say this before we get out of here. I wanted to pose this question to you because I think I tweeted it at maybe you or somebody this week. But how many times is Miles jumping off sides today from Aaron Rodgers? What do you think? I set the line at 2.5.
I'll say 2. I'll say 2.
Okay, then
I thought he was actually pretty interesting on Friday when he was asked, is that sort of just the cost of doing business? And he said, yeah. He's like, I think they know sometimes I'm going to get caught, but I gotta anticipate these things. Like the times I don't get caught, it usually leads to a good play, or it could lead to a big play. So I think they'll take the trade off there. As long as it's not necessarily a costly situation or a key moment of the game, I think they kind of live with it. But I'll say 2. I'll say 2.
But I do think the flip side of that one is today is different because Aaron uses his snap count as a weapon. So it's very practiced. And even when I played, my head coach was Aaron's teammate in Green Bay for years. And we tried to make the hard count a weapon. So we had periods where, hey. So
you can do it. You can do the Aaron Rodgers hard count. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh yeah, dude. I was a good hard counter.
Dude, they should have had you out there so Jim Schwartz could have saved his voice.
Yeah,
you should have been doing it. Jim Schwartz said he lost his voice because he was trying to mimic it. They could have just paid you for a week to come do the hard count.
They wouldn't have had to pay me much, and I'd have been out there.
You would have just been happy to have a Browns helmet on, run around out there. That's all.
I would have. No, the point is that they use it as a weapon, and the receivers know that, hey, once 95 even makes a flinch, I'm gone, and I'm just running straight. And Aaron's going to chuck that thing as far as he can to try to get a big play or pass interference or something because they get a free play. So, yes, cost of doing business for sure, but also got to be smart about it today because Aaron will make you pay.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our pregame conversation. We will obviously talk to you postgame with our reaction to whatever plays out in the field behind me here in Pittsburgh. Will the Browns finally get this monkey off their back during the regular season? Well, we'll have you covered. Head on over to roundtable.io/sports/NFL/Browns for any of our written content throughout the game, after the game, etc. But also stay locked in at the YouTube channel here where you can find us post-game to talk about whatever happens, win, lose, tie, whatever. We'll have you covered, obviously, and we look forward to talking to you then. In the meantime, enjoy the game and keep on following along with all things Cleveland Browns with the Cleveland Browns Roundtable.